Welcome to Culture on Tap. We are a podcast that is about bridging the cultural gap one conversation at a time. We have myself, Xavier Bright. Sitting across from me, we have Dale Young. And the man, the myth, the legend behind the camera is Range Armentar. If you haven't already, please like, subscribe, and share on anywhere where you listen to or watch podcasts. And make sure to hit the bell so that you get the notifications whenever we have new content coming out.
Awesome. I got a text on my brain.
Yeah.
It was rude.
That was your cue
For fun facts with Range.
Yes.
I know it was last week you did this whole little thing. So we all have our moments. So don't be self-righteous over here.
Oh, wow.
Fun facts with Range. So we talked about if you watched our Tuesday, Get to Know You. If you didn't, you should watch those.
Absolutely.
Which I will say, if you're going to only watch one, I do appreciate you watching the Wednesday, but Tuesdays are fun. And we talked about how Range basically hates big cities, even though he says he needs to visit them. He doesn't like them. But I did not know. Let's just say this. Range does not understand, and maybe you can help me understand. Well, let's just wait. Where is Range? Where is the Empire State Building?
Where is the Empire State?
You want me to ask a different building in the same city?
Sure.
I got me off guard. Where is the 9/11 Memorial?
Oh, that's New York.
What part of New York?
City.
So, but it's this is where you get confused. It's on the island of Manhattan.
So it's not New York.
No, it is.
New York State.
Nope. New York City.
Sure.
Do you disagree? These are facts.
I mean, I'm not on Google. I'm not sitting here fact checking.
So but we've had this discussion, and I guess my question is, what part? Help us understand. Help us help you.
So, Humble is not in Houston.
Correct.
So then, same difference.
But, not really. So,
I mean, I've never been there. So
Galveston. There's Galveston, and then there's Galveston.
Then we're not even going to get into that.
No, there's
No. What do you mean?
This is my point. There's Galveston, and then there's Galveston Island.
See, and the last
You
time
disagree?
You disagree with?
How do you disagree with that?
Galveston is the island.
What is it on the other side of the bridge?
I don't know, whatever area that is.
Galveston.
Still Galveston.
Okay.
I feel like you're getting frustrated with us.
No, I'm not getting frustrated. But I again, since the last time we've had this conversation the other day, I didn't.
So to be clear, I came back from New York, and just to paint this picture so everybody can understand, Range asked me, said, how did you enjoy New York City? And I said, well, we only had time to do Manhattan. And you said, I thought you went to New York City.
Correct.
And I said, I did. We just did Manhattan, which is, and you said, where is Manhattan?
Yeah.
And I said, New York City. It's the island of Manhattan in New York City.
I still hear you. And
so you had no idea there was a Manhattan, or you didn't know.
No, I've heard of
Manhattan. You didn't know it was. You didn't know it was New York City.
No.
So let me ask another question. Why did you, to start this off, I served you the Empire State Building. You didn't know where the Empire State Building was?
No, for some reason, well, because I don't remember exactly how you asked it, but I almost said Paris.
Oh, I wish you would have.
So.
Are you Googling right now?
Yeah.
What are you Googling?
Yeah. But anyway, so I did not.
Is Manhattan in New York City, or is it New York City? It says it's the most densely populated of New York City's 5 boroughs.
Yeah, it's
New York City's what?
5 boroughs.
Boroughs.
What is a borough?
Bronx, Brooklyn, Harlem, Manhattan. What's the last one? Queens.
Queens. So where we
Yeah,
have
but you didn't answer. What is a borough?
I'll just Google it.
I mean, my understanding is a borough is basically like a county, maybe. I don't know.
I don't know the
The
correct definition of it.
What is it, like a
A
suburb?
town.
Like a suburb?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like New York City is so densely populated,
Or a district.
they basically had to break it in districts. So like Queens a district, Harlem's a district, so that you kind of know what
A
area.
little closer than a suburb.
Yes.
Yes. It's more like So Manhattan is one of the 5 districts of
So
New York
then
City.
Manhattan would be more like the Heights.
Of Houston?
Or
No.
No, the Heights is its own.
yeah. I feel like y'all are making up rules.
As we go.
Yeah.
It's just I don't know how to explain it any other way that
But if it's on an island, it's obviously its own place. Yeah.
Well, let's since we're in New York City, let's ask this question: where is the Statue of Liberty?
New York.
Yes,
City.
yes. I meant like, what is it? What does it sit on?
Cement? I mean, it's pretty big.
I meant like it's an island too, not Manhattan. Don't say Manhattan.
How many islands are over there?
starts with an S, right? Yeah.
No,
You don't?
starts with an E.
It's not Staten Island?
No,
Where's that then?
it's
See,
Ellis
there's a-
Island.
Ellis, yes.
Wow, get to
X-Men.
know
X-Men.
Fun fact with Xavier too.
Didn't know that the Statue of Liberty was on Ellis Island. Yeah,
Yeah.
there we go.
Yeah, there you go.
So there you go.
So apparently there's a bunch of islands around New York.
There is.
There's Staten Island, Ellis Island, Manhattan. They don't call it Manhattan Island. They just call it Manhattan.
So there's one for the comments. So how many islands
That I don't know.
are
I don't
in
know
New
idea.
York?
Because Staten's New Jersey, isn't it?
Or
New York. Staten, New York or Staten, New Jersey?
I don't know why you just looked over here at me.
But then there's another like island right there because like New York and New Jersey is so close. We have way
Yeah,
railed on this.
for sure.
And he's Googling. This is where we're at.
Yeah.
I'm going to say, because there's Staten Island, there's
It's a borough of New York City.
it's
In Richmond, within Richmond County
I thought there was only 5.
in the U.S.
See,
state of New York.
now we all don't know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
So get to know
Well,
you, Dale, as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You didn't know that.
Yeah. So
Staten
there's
Island.
some interesting facts.
Yeah.
If you know how many islands are in New York,
So let me ask
Let
this
us know.
question. What are
What?
three things? Well, you'd probably say Empire State Building and Statue of Liberty. Name something we haven't talked about today that you want to see in New York City.
the big they have a rodeo there.
He said, did he
What
just
is
say
it?
a rodeo?
Yeah,
Like-
they do.
Did you know this?
The park. What's
I have
the
no idea what you're talking.
big park in New York?
Central Park?
Yeah,
They have
they
a
have,
rodeo.
they
in
have a
Central
big
Park?
rodeo in Central
He
Park.
said the big park in New York.
Is that not right?
I mean, Central Park
Central
is.
Park?
Yeah, you didn't know it's called Central Park.
No.
I like the fact that you decided to go with rodeo and not a lot of other things.
I know that they have one there.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it'd be cool to see the park.
The park, yes, I didn't get to see it either. I would like
That's
to see
all
it.
right. That's all right.
It was all right.
I heard there's a lot of
Yeah, I saw a guy stab somebody in the face and then run.
Yeah, I heard there's a lot of vagrants and stuff going on.
Yeah, so
It's not like the movies.
that is my memory. When I think of Central Park, that's what
Okay.
So there
I
you
think
go.
of.
So
Yeah,
fun
so-
fact
There you
of
go.
range went all over the place today.
And it's okay. And it,
Yeah.
again, has nothing to do with what we're talking about
Not
today.
even remotely close.
But hey, this is us. This is our friendship.
Yeah.
Random
Stuff.
And then we
This
get
is
into some
literally
serious
like,
stuff.
so y'all know, this was more a typical hangout where we just, it just
Well, the
kind
last
over the
few
place.
episodes have
like,
been this
yeah,
way.
like just kind of
Yeah.
morphs into something completely different.
Yeah, than what we were anticipating.
Yeah. So there
But-
it is.
Today, this is the second part of us talking about Church Hurt. Last week, we talked about Church Hurt from a leadership standpoint. Today, we're going to be talking about Church Hurt from the congregation. So whenever you think about Church Hurt from the congregation standpoint, what do you think about? Because you got all...
I would say now you're going to go back to that. As a leader, expected.
Explain.
I feel like this is the best way I put it. I had a pastor give me a book one time when I first went into ministry. I'd been in ministry a little bit, and he said, "You need to read this if you're going to succeed in ministry." And the book was called "Walking with a Limp." And basically, the idea of the book is if you don't think there will be scars as you shepherd, then you're not ready to shepherd.
Wow.
So, it's like hurt people.
Yeah. Super cliche, but...
Yes.
Hmm.
Like she had a concert.
No, I'm just
Yeah.
saying it's
Yeah.
it's super cliche, but it's like it's true. Like
Yeah, like I mean,
no God, no
well, and
peace
especially
type of thing.
And this could make it a little deeper, especially with our mantra of or our idea of how people show up at church. Like we wait for people to hit rock bottom, then we want to bring them to church, or when they're in a desperate mode, they'll come to church. So then, why in the world wouldn't they hurt you?
Yeah,
If that's the target audience,
yeah,
then they're gonna be hurtful.
yeah. No, that's good. Whenever I think about it, I the Pew Research says this
Why did that
about
make you smile? The word
has-
pew.
Pew. It was just pew pew. That's what I thought of.
I knew exactly why you smiled. I was like,
Pew Research Center says that 75% of pastors describe themselves as extremely stressed or highly stressed. 70% experience ongoing depression. 70% say their self-esteem has decreased since entering the ministry. Half would leave ministry if they could. 80% of pastors feel their ministry work undermines their family life. And 80% of ministry spouses feel unappreciated.
I wouldn't disagree with any of that.
And it's just like a lot of that comes from what they're experienced among the people.
Yeah.
Because it's like you're called on whenever there's an issue. You're called on whenever you're expected to go here or there or do this or have all the answers. And rarely called on to just, how are you doing?
Yeah. No, yeah. It's, I mean, I think it leads into our next question. Why does it seem so common a theme is be a common theme? I think it's because we have done over the years a horrible job of painting the role of a pastor.
Explain.
I don't believe that we are looking for someone to lead us and have a servant's mentality. I think we're looking for someone to serve us in all mentalities. It's not enough for you to lead me spiritually. You need to come to my little boy's baseball game and their birthday party and when they're in the hospital and when there's a marriage problem and you need to take the trash out and you need to call everybody. Like like,
And you need to preach.
and you need
your
to
best
preach
sermon
every Sunday.
Every Sunday.
And make sure you hug every single one of us before you preach,
Yeah.
and speak to all of us after you preach. Like the list of, like, it's not, do you want a shepherd or do you want someone that lets you be lazy?
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's how I feel about it. Like, the reality is, I feel like the mindset is, we pay you, so work for us.
Undivided attention
Yeah.
for everybody.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's like having, however big your church is, that many kids. And like, you ever seen the Lorax where he sits at the table? Have you seen the movie Lorax?
Mm-mm.
So the movie Lorax, he has like, I don't remember. I know you've seen Lorax. He has hundreds of kids. And so like he sits at the table and he has a timer and he has like 10 seconds with each kid in the morning for breakfast. So like the first one comes and he's like, hey, Juju or whatever, boom. And then it goes to the next one. And like the chairs move.
I don't think you're naming the correct movie.
No, it's not Lorax. Horton gives a who. Or
Horton Hears a Who?
Yeah, Horton Hears a Who. I'm
Okay.
sorry. Have you seen that one?
Mm-mm.
No. Well, that's a good one
That
too.
one I have not seen.
So it's Horton Hears a Who. And so he's each kid. And I feel like that's the expectation. And here's the problem with that, because research has shown that one human being at max capacity is able to reach 60 people in influence, like truly reach them,
Oh,
which is why I think that a lot of churches hit a stalemate, because no one else wants to take on that role.
that's good. So are the congregation's expectation for, and this isn't everybody
No.
in every congregation. I was about to say conversation, congregation. But if you look at the stats when it comes to pastors, the majority is feeling some sort of weight, right? So do you think the congregation's expectation of their pastors are realistic or unrealistic? And why or why not?
I think it depends on the church. I feel like smaller churches have a more unrealistic picture for their pastor than larger churches. Because I think larger churches, it allows them to go, he can't be all these things. We're too
Right.
big for that.
Right.
And they are able to hire more staff to fill in those roles, where smaller churches, you can't, and they expect you to do all of it all the time.
Yeah, no, I would definitely agree. And some in bigger churches go there to just kind of hide and get their message and then dip out.
Right.
Where-
If your goal is to check off the proverbial church box,
You're not going to go to a small.
most of the time you don't go to a small
Yeah.
church. People will see you come in, which we didn't even ask the question, like, have you been hurt by the congregation?
I have not. I think I've been misunderstood. I've been annoyed, angered, but not. I haven't personally experienced hurt by the congregation or from the congregation. What about you?
I would say yes. I mean, I've been in for so long.
Yeah.
I think for me, investing in people. Here's the one thing that I think this happens in a lot of areas of life, but it definitely happens in ministry. You invest years into someone, and whether they interpret you making a mistake or they don't like what you hear, or you make a mistake,
Yeah.
one moment and they just walk away.
Yeah.
They don't remember that you stood by them through the rocky times. They just remember, in this moment when I rubbed my pastor lamp, you didn't come out and grant any wishes. And it hurts. Like, it hurts when you've because the reality is you sacrifice a lot to be there for people and for them to walk away. It don't feel good. I don't know that it's the same. Whereas in leadership, I've had directly someone hurt me knowing you're going in to hurt me. I think it's more of a surprise hurt. Like, I can't believe this is happening. I can't believe you're viewing me in this way, kind of thing.
So do you feel like you carry that when it comes to other congregants? Like
100%.
Yeah.
100%. I was going to we can talk about it now. I think it changes, the way you do ministry. You can, I don't care. Like we've talked about before, you get punched enough, you learn how to dodge.
Yeah.
Like and
or punches that wouldn't necessarily hurt you.
Right.
Hurt you now.
Yeah.
Because you've become punch drunk. Like Chuck Liddell late in his career, he was getting knocked out by jabs.
Yeah, where he used to could take just about anything.
Yeah.
And so I feel like I think you not making excuse for leadership becoming distant or becoming jaded towards their congregation, but at the same time, there is a point where you give and you feel hurt. You lost focus while you did it. They lost focus in who you realistically can be, and then you just start putting up walls. You start deciding, like, if no one else is going to look out for me, I've got to look out for me.
Yeah. And my family.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because sometimes not, whether it's intentionally or unintentionally, we take whatever it is that we're going through and put that on them or take it out on them, whether it's lashing out or just kind of not even being connected.
Right.
You know?
Well, and I think this is the mistake of the American church. One, because of our political views, we have a false idea of what the pastor's job is.
Well, you just work one day a week. So.
Yeah. Oh, you write your message and literally on the way to the church. But I mean, I guess that would be my question. What do you feel like is the worst false, that was horrible English, delusion that people perceive of pastors?
I would probably have to go with that we've got all the answers.
I would agree with that.
Because, for one, I definitely don't have all the answers.
Yeah.
I'm 33 years old.
I mean,
You
just
know?
in the 5 years we have planted this church, we have come across multiple scenarios that I like.
How you like, it doesn't talk about this directly.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Or how to handle this directly. Now we go about it because, okay, this requires church discipline, or this requires this response or that response. But it's like, you're the pastor. Figure it out.
Yeah.
Or where do I need to go? Or if you have the answers, I don't like that answer. So
Right.
I'm not going to do it. You know what I'm saying? So it's I feel as though, because it could get dicey sometimes with, members, it's like there's this crowded loneliness. And I haven't been hurt directly by the church, but it's like whenever I was going through whatever it is that I was going through with just this, it's kind of like circumstantial depression, like I was always around people, but I felt so lonely.
Right.
Because it was like, rarely was it, X, how are you doing?
Yeah, I was just, how often is it, how are you doing it? Or is it, what are you doing for me?
Right. It's like, it wasn't, man, I've noticed that, you're not yourself, or I noticed this or that, or it's like, you don't even notice me.
Yeah.
You just want me to deliver.
Yeah.
That's what I felt.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like, you need to have all the answers. You need to have it put together and deliver, but it just leads to eventually, that's why, you're talking about last episode, personally 9 pastors who have been disqualified for basically from ministry. But how many of those guys, and I'm not excusing anything, but I'm just saying, how many of those guys were known
Right.
by someone? How many of those guys felt as though that they were seen, and not just to deliver a message, but because they're valuable
Right.
in the kingdom, not for anything that they do, but because of who Christ is.
Right. No, I think it's good.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like, from my perspective, I think that is the biggest, like, misconception or just biggest ask
Right.
from a congregational standpoint. What about you?
I would say because of the culture we have created, that we work for the congregation. That you pay my salary, so now I work for you. First of all, there's 2 false in that. Number 1, I don't work for you. I work for Christ. I was called by Christ. I wasn't called by you for ministry. Because if I was called by you, I'd have left ministry a long time ago. Just being honest. And 2, you're not paying me. You're being obedient at giving your tithe. Which I've had this debate with pastors before. Pastors are like, "Oh, I don't tithe because I get paid by the church, so I'm basically just cycling the money back in my account." I tithe like everybody else because God has called me to tithe.
Right.
So I tithe, and yes, the church does pay us. However, the church, not you, like this is from God's money now, not your bank account.
Right.
It's from His tithe. So when you have this mindset of, because I've had multiple people in my life go, when I say something like, "Well, you work for us," and I'm like, I don't work for any of you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that stems from the whole committees, election, the whole 9 yards. Like, we're here, you are, and I think it goes back to you feeling like unknown, but we expect you to perform. Like, I feel like we're racehorses sometimes.
Yeah.
I think it's that mindset of, I don't need to know you, I just need you to deliver. And that mindset is so stressful. Like when you feel like people will never understand when you feel like you don't deliver God's word well. Like, you're your worst critic.
Yeah.
Like, I feel horrible about when it does not come across the way I thought it would.
Mm-hmm.
But
or it's not received
right.
how.
But then if you add that stress of like, I've had 2 bad weeks in a row, I got to get it together. Like, and so I agree. Like, I could see how, again, not excusing people walking away or falling short in sin, but I could see how when you're alone, you're looking for something of comfort, and no one, like, you don't feel like you can be open and honest about where you're at because there's someone always watching.
And that's another really good point, in the sense of you feel like you cannot be yourself because you have to deliver.
Right.
You can't have any issue.
You can't have a bad day. Like, and I'm not saying that we should show up on Sunday being like a jerk and I'm in a bad mood, so I'm going to be ugly to everybody. But you can't just be down.
Right.
Like, you can't just be over in the corner quiet.
Right. Based off of statistics, this was another stat. 70% of pastors feel as though they're under unrealistic expectations. Do you think this is mostly the congregation's fault or the lack of boundaries and clear expectation from the pastor?
I think it's both. I think that a lot of congregations, especially if it's an established church, usually the transition of pastor happens for one of 3 reasons. The most healthy could be he feels like it's time to age, like his age, and he's retiring, and it's a celebration, and they're moving on.
Yeah.
But the other 2 are you've decided that you're done with this church and you're moving on. And I'm not saying that that's not a real thing.
Right.
So people are hurt. Like, it's like you're leaving, and this is happening.
No matter how you slice it,
Right.
the pastor feels, what did I do wrong?
Right. Well,
You know?
or even like if the pastor's like, God called me from being your pastor
Mm-hmm.
to this ministry.
Right.
Like, it doesn't matter how you deliver it. Like, people ain't happy.
Right.
And not, I mean, not saying they should be. And then, of course, third would be the worst, that the pastor has done something where he's had to be removed from office. So when that happens, naturally people have orchestrated what they expect. Like, if we're going to start over, we're going to get a new pastor, what do we want? It's not who does God want, what do we want? The last pastor,
Sound like 1 Samuel.
yeah, like,
This is what we want.
well, and that's the thing. Like, last pastor was very good at exegeting scripture, but he was monotone and dry. We want a more charismatic pastor this time, so we're going to we want a younger pastor. We want a different colored pastor than we had. We want someone that dresses different. Like, so you've already created a human being before you even met or even asked God, like, who do you want for this church? Not what do we want? What do we need, Lord? And so now you got guys coming in interviewing, and literally this is the interview process. Can I meet the predetermined expectations that you want for me? And the sad truth is most guys are going, well, how much are you going to pay me?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Like, let's just be real honest. And so you get into that role. And first of all, if you're a young minister, getting it, it's never what you think it's going to be. Like, if this is the bottom line, it's not the bottom line. It's going to be worse. It just is. And so then you get into those things and you burn out. And then you have,
or you rust out.
yeah, either one.
Yeah.
And then you have, pastors out of fear sometimes of losing their job or being called into a meeting, that don't know how to say no. Like, this is my family's time. And you know, there's been times that I've done that. Like, I am so blessed, that I have a wife that will tell me, you're done. Like, you're going to need to, like, I get you think that's important, but we are. And I guess that's the crazy part to me is how, let's say you're like, hey, we're having an anniversary party Friday night and we'd love for y'all to come. I don't think that's wrong. I think it's beautiful that you want your pastor there. But if he says, you know what, I promised my son I was going to take him to the movies. Appreciate you, but we're going to go do this. Like, how that can't be beautiful that, like, he loves his son.
Yeah.
Like, are you, I'm not there? Did your anniversary not still happen? Like, but I think we have this idea of he's supposed to serve us. He should be here. And I think it builds this mindset of, like, we can't have boundaries. And I think the sad part is we expect all pastors to be the same. Some guys are wired. Like, I know a pastor that, like, if you're in the hospital, he's going to pack a bag and basically stay the whole time you're there. I'm not doing that. Like, I don't even like hospitals. I'll come see you. But I think if you're not that guy, then they're like, well, what's wrong with our,
why can't you be like, such and so?
Yeah, like, you have weird things about you. Why can't he have things that are different?
Yeah. No, I think that's.
What about you? I
think that's good. Well, I look at it as, I think it's Hebrews 13 talks about the pastor or the church leader and the congregation submitting to each other.
Yes.
It's mutual. It's not, I quote unquote pay your bills, so you have to answer to my every beck and call. It's like, no, we are submitted to each other. We are to reflect Jesus's relationship with the church, which is a covenant.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like a covenant relationship to where a lot of times and you see the numbers.
Right.
Go to Pew Research Center, Pew Research Center, and you can look these stats up.
Right.
But the majority if you look at, and whether it is the pastor not feeling like he can say no and I'm not putting up that boundary or not, the reality is that there is this, whether it's healthy or not, like this pressure
Right.
that is applied to answer every call. Like there was a book, I can't remember which book it was in. It was a book that I read recently, but he was talking about it was a Sunday morning. He woke up to like 3 text messages from 3 different members. And he had to preach. So he was trying to prepare for that, trying to get his kids ready. His wife had a new dress. He didn't say anything because he was thinking about the 3 text messages and getting his kids ready. So his wife gets mad at him. She's being short with him, and he's like, he can't figure out what's wrong. And they're on their way to church. He's trying to spark conversation, not really going anywhere. He's still thinking about the 3 text messages. He's trying to spark conversation with his kids, but they have their headphones in.
Right.
They're not listening. He feels like he's failing as a husband because his wife is being short with him. He's feeling like he's failing as a father because his kids aren't engaging. He's thinking about the problems at church that he's facing, and he has to preach. And he gets up. He talks to those people. He preaches. He feels like it was flat because of all these other things.
Right.
And by 1 p.m., he is having a midlife crisis, and this is the start of his week.
Yeah.
So all of these things, and it's like you don't think about that unless you're in that position, because we think that, at least I can't say we. I thought until I was in it, I thought it was a matter of a whole bunch of lunch meetings,
Right.
and just getting up and sharing what you think this passage means.
Right.
And it's not that.
No, yeah. I mean, and I think you'd agree with this. There's a couple of things I think people will never understand until you're called to ministry. And I'm not even saying you should understand. Wrestling with being obedient to the call that God gave you and being obedient to loving and protecting your family well is hard.
Yeah.
I would also say, until you pour your heart out in a message, message ends and you feel like you're just answering a complaint center of everything. And I'm not saying that if a church member is struggling, they shouldn't be able to come talk to you. But when it's like, did you do this week?
Mm-hmm.
Like it's just the, and like you're like, did you hear like I just poured my heart out,
right.
and I feel like you were just waiting for me to stop so you could tell me how I'm not a great pastor.
Yeah.
Like, and so I can see why. I can see both sides. I can see why pastors become very aggressive and even abusive, because it's like you will not, like, I can see how pastors can be like, I will just be dominant over you so that you don't hurt me.
Yeah.
Again, not saying it's okay. And I can also see why congregations feel like we need to set the narrative because we can't trust you.
Yeah.
So I can see both sides of it for sure.
Yeah. How can the congregation give grace to their pastors without turning it into abusive behavior?
Remember that they're just a human. Like we're not, when we answered the call to be a pastor or a shepherd, we didn't all of a sudden get a superpower.
Yeah.
Like, yes, it is a calling out, as scripture says, that you are set apart. But it doesn't say set apart with special powers.
Yeah.
You're still just a man, that's called to lead God's local church, which is, very scary.
Yeah.
And very hard. And I think that we forget that. And I'm not saying just let them run rampant with their struggles, but I also think the mindset needs to be for pastors, like, this is the church God called me to shepherd until he sees different, and the congregation needs to be the same. I feel like even when pastors screw up, like, we were really quick to go, you got to go.
Yeah.
And that's just a scary place to be. So I just feel like give grace to a pastor just like you would anyone else. Like, or hopefully you would give anybody else. Like, yes, he is your pastor. And I would answer, most of the time you can't give him grace is because you've put him in an idle position that he never deserved to be in. Just a guy.
That's really good. That's really good. Closing remarks.
I would challenge the congregation, instead of looking at all the things he's not doing right, ask yourself, what could you do more of? Maybe just spend some time loving on him and praying for him. If you feel like he's not greeting the guests that come or greeting the people on Sunday morning as well as it should be, maybe you should do it. Maybe someone can then say, I didn't stay here because of the message. I stayed here because this member loved me well. Like, that's a powerful statement. Maybe if he's where he's falling short, like, here's what, maybe like Moses, his arms are getting tired and maybe it's time for you to be Aaron.
Yeah.
But everybody wants the pastor to be Aaron and Moses. Like, and we can't be both.
Yeah.
So I would just say, before you decide to call a meeting to crucify him, why don't you see how God wants you to maybe God put the burden on you not to bash him, but maybe put the burden on you for you to step up. Just a thought.
That's really good. I would close basically affirming what you said. And as I was thinking about this, I think that there are, in my experience, whether I was a person, a part of a congregation, or in a leadership position, I've come to realize that there are three types of members. There are consumers, there are complainers, and there are contributors.
Yes. That is very true.
So the consumer, they're people who think the church exists for them. You know, there's a lot of that.
Yeah.
There are also a lot of complainers who they complain about the ministries that there are, and they complain about the ministries that there aren't. And they ain't really doing anything but complaining. And there are contributors who recognize that the church can be improved. They recognize that there are issues, but they believe that God has called them to be a part of the solution. And where they don't see the church as perfect, they see it as flawed, but they're not complaining. You know, they're not consuming. They are a part of the mission to further God's kingdom, and don't expect the pastor to be apostle,
right,
preacher, teacher, prophet. They don't expect
Dad,
them to be
best
everything.
friend.
You know,
Danny.
we are a part of this as well.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I and that's the thing. I was like, not only are you asking us to be everything biblical, but you're trying to have us also be every gap that's not filled in your personal life. And I would just ask, like, this is a question for you to ask yourself. When your pastor sees you, do you think he sees you as a blessing or a burden? And that doesn't mean that you don't need something. I have people in my life that have needed me for years, but I still see them as a blessing because I feel like they've always been appreciative. They've always understood when I need a break. They've always been there. I know where they're at and they know where I'm at. Yeah. But if you feel like, and here's the problem, most of us would say where Bertie was like, he just don't like that I asked that hard question. Is that it? I feel like most pastors are okay with the hard question.
Absolutely.
I think we've grown accustomed to the hard question. The question is, are you trying to be a blessing? Not even to your pastor, to your church. Are you getting in the way of him being the best shepherd for your people? Because they're still your people too.
Yeah.
So yeah.
No, that's good. That's good. We will end it right there. Yeah. If you haven't already, please like, subscribe where we're pointing. anywhere you listen to or watch podcasts, and make sure that you hit the bell so that you get the notifications so that you can be a part of the new content that we have coming out. Next week is a big week. Rain steps out from behind the camera, and
First time.
and he joins us at the table. And it's gonna be fun. It's kind of gonna be lighthearted.
Yeah.
You know, because we've been going kind of hard in the paint since we started.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's gonna be a little lighthearted. But for those of you who do not know what Range looks like, you finally get the opportunity. So make sure that you hit that subscribe button right there so that you can be a part of that and what's coming. But thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for tapping in with us. We will see you guys next week.
See you guys.
Culture on Tap is sponsored by Houston Radio Platinum, playing the best classic hits. You can download the Houston Radio Platinum app. It's in your app store, or just ask Alexa to play Houston Radio Platinum.